This is the Eddie Corns podcast, and today I'm once again joined by one of your favourites, Finlay Butcher, to go through all of the preseason storylines. A little bit's been happening the last few days. It's not as much content as we would like, but there's some training videos, there's some articles we want to break down, and then at the very end of the podcast, we are going to give our top 5 players in the AFL right now and who we think are going to be the top 5 players in the AFL by the end of this coming season. It's a fun podcast. And if you enjoy it, leave a 5-star review. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Once again, we're trying to get to 500 subscribers on YouTube by the end of February. We're actually pretty close. So the support, we love it. Appreciate it so much. Keep it rolling in. All right. This is the Eddie Corns podcast. Let's get into it. Enjoy. Finlay's back. We got a lot to talk about. First of all, someone was complaining in the YouTube comments about how you begin podcasts with how up and about and I don't know what the word is. You're very expressive in your facial movements when the podcast typically begins. You got any thoughts on that?
Um, Today is a day of grief and pain
Oh,
for many
right.
because I've had to seriously wind back my antics at the start of the episode. So
Yeah.
we're gonna give the man what he wants, and suppose we'll be talking like this all day.
So the anonymous, I can't remember what his name was. I'll
Oh,
find it
don't
by the
want
end
to
of the
know.
podcast. However, this guy, he's now caused Finlay to lose the energy that you've all come to know and love. These are the most popular podcasts I do. The episodes with Finlay, again, the most popular episodes I do. And this bloke wants Finlay to stray away from who he's been since the beginning, which, by the way, we just passed our 2-year anniversary of our first podcast, which is pretty wild that we've been doing this for 2 years. Hopefully, we're a little bit better than what we were when we started. Did you say you went back and listened to it?
Yeah, I had a listen the other day, and it was filmed inside of a sewerage container
Yep.
out in Wyala by the
Yep.
sounds of it, because
Okay.
honestly, all this, it was like we were glitching, mate. Honestly, it was horrid. So it's been a good 2 years. 2 years, wow. That's a long time. We're only young, but we're getting old, so
Well,
here's to another
yes.
2.
Well, the podcast is killing at the moment, so let's keep that going. Um, I'm trying to find this guy's comment, but I can't find it. So that's
I'll have a
embarrassing.
look, mate.
Maybe he's
You
deleted it.
you
So
just get
you
to
got
it.
to fire up for him now. All right, lots we're gonna get to in this episode. Typically around this time of the AFL calendar, not a lot going on. By the way, we're recording this on a Wednesday night at 5:30. So this is going to go up on Thursday morning. If we somehow miss something, apologies. I doubt we will. There he is. If you're watching the video, Alka23 was not happy with Finlay. So
Get a grip, mate.
hopefully he's all right with that intro. Um, the big story at the moment is Carlton and that video of their training, which was posted by, I think it was the Jumper Punch. Oh no, it was My Blue Heaven. Sorry, My Blue Heaven posted it, and then Bear, who was on this podcast last week, kind of amplified it on his accounts. They couldn't hit a kick on a lead. It was very embarrassing. What have you made of this whole video, this whole training session? And when you look at the footage, does it make you think that Carlton have no hope in 2026?
It's a tough one because there's a YouTube channel called Swoop Luke, who I watch
Oh,
frequently, and he
Jesus.
he talks about the Collingwood team being very lackadaisical, or as he says, lackadaisical. So he talks about their
Makes
training
sense, you
being a
can't
bit
spell.
lackadaisical, but you've never really. I feel like Collingwood are always quite professional, so we don't know how much we could take out of it. What we do know is we had a chat on the phone last night, and we were just really ripping him a new one because there's some. It's harrowing footage. It is like there's balls flying over people's heads. There's balls dropping 5 meters short. It's not. It's
Mm.
just. It's like under 11s. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, so there's 2 ways to look at this. I think the first way to look at it is you say, The Blues have no hope in 2026. It's embarrassing where they're at right now, and anyone giving them a chance is an idiot. How I look at it is, even prior to watching this vision, who in the hell is giving Carlton a chance at winning the premiership in 2026? I mean, you look at their list, they lost two of their best players on their team and two of the best players arguably in the competition. They've got Patrick Cripps, who star in his prime, wasn't great last year. He really felt the load of expectations and the way that Carlton put a lot of their I guess he was expected to shoulder the majority of the midfield load that Carlton needed, with Sam Walsh being injured the whole time. Sam Walsh, another guy who, how many games can you expect him to play? This list is just not that good. They lost Silvani as well. Like, anyone expecting Carlton to play finals prior to this vision, I think is delusional. And while they may be, I don't know, slightly improved next year, I doubt it. Like, I just think that this team needs to go full rebuild mode, take a few years off, lose a few games, and come back completely rejuvenated and completely reset. And I don't think that'll be with Michael Voss, who, by the way, I don't think Voss is a terrible coach. Like, I don't think that at all. He's just someone who has twice really been given a pretty average circumstance and hasn't been able to elevate that average circumstance like we've seen some other coaches do. Does that mean he's a terrible coach? No, I just don't think he's being dealt a great hand in the two teams he's coached. So, Carlton, I was already well and truly out on them, and this vision just kind of, I don't know, made me think I'm more correct in that thinking.
It's not what you expected to see, but if there's a few teams that you would expect it to come out from, there's a
Yeah.
few teams that it's definitely not, but then there's a few teams that it definitely is,
Well,
and
actually, that's
Carlton.
a good point. Let's make a list. Which teams would you expect to see vision like this come out from? Because I think North is top of the list. I think they're the number
West
one team
Coast,
that is West Coast, absolutely. Who else are we thinking? Maybe like a Melbourne. I don't know.
Melbourne,
Maybe.
Port.
Um, yeah, I think
It's not a good
Carlton,
list, is it?
Melbourne. No, it's not a good list to be on. So West Coast 100%, North 100%, Melbourne maybe, Carlton obviously now we know for a fact. Um, yeah, I reckon that's maybe Essendon, maybe that's the other one.
Yeah.
Essendon probably is the other one. So there's like 5 or 6 teams that you could think about potentially this coming. Port Adelaide even more, like with how they use the ball out of their back
Which is
half.
and that which accurately reflects the bottom 5 of last year, really. Like,
Yeah, I mean, we're
you
just listing
almost
shit teams now.
yeah, it's just like you don't and Carlton fans would hate to hear it, but you don't expect that. You wouldn't have expected that to come from Carlton even 2 years ago, but now it's almost like, "Well, oh, who's this?" With if you took the jumpers off, you'd almost automatically assume it was coming from one of those 4 or 5 that we listed there, and unfortunately, Carlton's fallen into one of them recently.
Agree. There's some other stuff coming out of Carlton, but not necessarily from inside the 4 walls from their fans. They've started making Charlie Curnow rat shirts for round 0. Um, Now these shirts are coming from the Jumper Punch podcast. I'm pretty sure, at least they're promoting them, and I've been on that podcast. Really good guys. Paul Sebastiani is the absolute man. I love him. Um, is it fair to be treating Charlie Curnow like a rat? When you watch that video from Carlton training and he gets to go to Sydney now with that elite midfield, do you really blame him for leaving? I mean, come on.
I've always said this, you can't blame people for leaving bottom 4 teams when they are the best
Mm,
player on the team.
mm.
If Harley Reid left, I wouldn't blame Harley Reid. I don't blame Jason Horne-Francis for why he left North. I don't think you can. It's not fair on the player. Imagine how hard it would be to be the best player at your football team, see all these people of equal levels at other clubs having so much success, and you're down there trying to parry the weight of this team. Another thing we didn't speak about with Carlton is they lost TDK as well. I mean,
Yeah.
it just went from bad to worse this offseason. Charlie Curnow, I think if he wanted to maintain his form from when he was getting good delivery from inside, he had to move. and I think it's gonna be huge for Sydney. I'm sure we might even touch on Sydney a bit later with a few of their antics, but I think if you're gonna do like that, you're just sour. Just get over it, move on, accept the fact of where you are now. Honestly, lock in, Carlton. You're the worst football club in the world. I've had enough.
Well,
Honestly,
this surprised me
this
a little.
bloke in the comments has actually rattled me. I'm actually
No,
rattled.
so this has surprised me a little bit because there's these rat shirts of Kerno now. I thought they'd be going after TDK a little bit more.
That's what
And
I thought.
by the way, I guess so they're playing Sydney round 0. So I guess that kind of plays into the fact that they're going early and this will come for TDK a little bit later. However, TDK writing in an article or speaking to someone at Code Sports and saying, "This was the hardest decision of my life," is one of the all-time great lies from a football player that I've seen. I mean, honestly, this bloke was gone from about round 1, and he's talking about, "This is the hardest decision of my life." You got the bag, I respect it. No one else is gonna pay you anywhere near the amount of money St Kilda gave you. Just embrace it, TDK. Become a bit of a villain. You don't have to lie through your teeth. It's just gonna piss off the Carlton fans even more. Be honest. You got a fat bag, you left, embrace it. Stop giving us this bullshit lies that you're trying to spin this this fucking story that it was the toughest decision of your life and you're sitting there crying about it and you don't know how you feel. Stop with that bullshit, TDK, please.
Mate, if you laid out $1.7 million a year to jump ship and go to a fantasy football podcast, I'm gone. I'm good as gone, and I was good as gone from 3 years ago before we even started
Oh,
this. As soon as he heard a
absolutely.
whisper of the money that was involved, that bloke was gone, and you could see it. Everyone could see it. Although I think he did handle it quite well last year.
Yeah, I mean, well, his performance wasn't great. And again, I think he is there's kind of two sides to the coin when it comes to this, and we're going to experience it with Zach Butters on Port Adelaide this year. There's one guy who's out of contract and just plays incredible like Naz, and it elevates his performance, and the entire narrative around that season kind of takes the player to a different level, and it ends up them getting this massive bag because of it. And then there's TDK, who there were times I didn't necessarily think this, but there were times that Carlton fans were questioning his effort, and there were times where he wasn't that great and living up to expectations and living up to that massive contract that we're mentioning here. Um, and now St Kilda fans kind of sit there and think we have no idea what we're getting with this guy. We could be getting the best ruckman in the competition who will completely change how we play, or we could be getting one of the most overpaid players in the AFL. So he's a guy that I'm absolutely going to be monitoring really closely this year, and I think he's one of the more fascinating storylines when it comes from a player point of view. I just don't need the bullshit around. It was so tough. I didn't know what to do the whole season, mate. Mate, be real. You were gone by round 1. As soon as St Kilda said we'll give you that much money, you were gone. So just don't lie about that. I don't need that.
Well, there goes our special guest for next week, Tom de Koning, everybody.
No, I'm if Tom wants to come on and set the record straight, we're absolutely happy to do it. If he wants to give us some evidence of him, sitting there
Crying in the
just
bathroom, Josh Giddey
like
style.
honestly, talking to all the people at Carlton, like if you gave us some evidence of that, I would believe you. But no, thanks, Tom. We don't need that. Georgiades has been in the news this week because Port Adelaide has decided to give him a bit of a run in the midfield during their practice matches. What are your thought of this?
Um, we've seen one video clip
Mhm.
where he rove the ball, handballed it out, and a chain was created.
Yeah.
I think you could put me in the midfield, and I'd get one touch, and it would look all right. And then you could upload it and say new star in the midfield, and everyone would lose their heads. Don't think we can do much yet. What did people do when Luke Jackson started playing midfield? Took him a while to get on board, showed a bit of work. Everyone's on board now. It looks great. Is Georgiades that player? I don't know. Is the level of athleticism the same? I'm not sure. We know George is very athletic above his head and one
Yep.
of the competition's best above his head, and I really would say above his knees, really. I think he showed that last year, and I think it will be a big season for George. I don't know about his new role. I don't know what the split would look like, even if it's just something they were trying. I'm going to be along at the Port versus Crows sim match, so we're going to have to report back to you there. I don't mind it personally. Josh is just finding his feet. He's doing a lot. There's a lot going on. We don't expect anything. No one's got any expectations from the club. So work with what you've got, mate. It's not much. See what you can produce. If it works, then hey. If it works, it works.
Okay. Let's play a little game. If Georgiades isn't up forward this year, who kicks Port's goals? Who can
Yeah,
kick
good one.
more than 20 goals for Port Adelaide this year? Horn Francis, Georgiades. Who are the other names? Who can kick goals for Port?
Who can? Well, it's
Yep.
not who will. It's who can.
Yep.
Uh, Joe Barry would kick 15, you'd think.
Yep. How many did
Lukosius
he kick this?
Lukosius might break 20, but it's other than that, I'm not sure. You could put Radical forward again. Remember when they did that
20
last
quarters
thing?
played or 20? Okay, let's do another game. Does Lukosius kick more goals than quarters played this year?
No.
No? Okay.
No, mate. Even last year, he got halfway up the ground and dropped marks for a living. So I'm not sure what more we can say about Jack Lukosius, really.
So clearly the Port's just experimenting, and I don't want to go too hard on them. But I mean, let's just not get too big brained here. Let's not overcomplicate things. Georgiades was Port's only scoring option last year, other than Horn Francis, and Horn Francis was hurt for a lot of the year. You need that guy up forward. He turned into an absolute superstar last season. Let him continue to develop as one of the best key forwards in the competition. They are so hard to find. Don't throw him in the middle when you've already got one of the most stacked top end midfields in the competition. You don't need any more guys in that area of the ground. You are so weak up forward. You are so weak down back. If I was changing anyone's position, it would be Lukosius. Lukosius, go down back. Play half back. Play the Dan Houston role. You've got an incredible kick. Yeah, you say he dropped marks, but who knows? Maybe he can work on that somehow and end up being a decent overhead player and completely revolutionise how Port Adelaide move the ball. If I was Port, Todd Marshall would not be my halfback. It would be Lukosius, and Todd Marshall would be forward. It's just an example to me of Port bending the knee to a player who has done absolutely nothing to warrant Port Adelaide bending the knee to what he wants. Lukosius wants to play forward. I get it. What has he done in his football career to prove to us that he deserves the the right to say where he wants to play? I think it is so obvious, so clear that he is a halfback. That is the position that suits him best. When Port Adelaide have a halfback who can kick beautifully, their ball movement is just completely different. Last year they didn't have that. It was so obviously detrimental to their game, and I don't think Todd Marshall's that guy. I think Todd Marshall. I think it's an easier position for him to play up forward, coming back off these major injuries. We're putting him in a really tough position where he's coming back off a major injury and he's got to learn a completely new position. Lukosius has experience at halfback. Play him there, put Todd Marshall forward, and stop moving the magnets all over the place and trying to big brain everyone. Georgiades is not a midfielder. You've got a lot of midfielders. You got a lot of midfielders. Leave him forward. Let him continue to develop and turn into one of the best key forwards in the game. Put Marshall forward. Put Lukosius at halfback. That's what I would be doing as Port Adelaide. And to be honest, I've got no idea why Carr hasn't done that. And to be honest with you, I would not be surprised halfway through the year. That's how Port Adelaide's setup looks with Marshall, Georgiades up forward, Lukosius at halfback.
It's funny because it almost seems like to me that Josh Carr's rocking up into this job after not ever watching a Port game ever. I love Todd Marshall. I like him, but I think he's one of the softest key forwards that I've ever
Wow.
seen. Nah,
Wow.
sorry.
Okay.
You should hear the abuse that he cops in my section of the ground, Corn. It's one purple-haired, short-cut female screaming,
Todd's a
"Todd"
friend of
oh,
the
hang on,
show.
I'll put the thumbs up
Oh,
bit, friend of the
we've got
show.
the thumbs up on the video. What is
This is what
that?
you subscribe for, and
Oh,
they're
I
calling him Todd
didn't know that was a
Marshmallow.
thing.
Todd Marshmallow, and that makes me feel sad. Todd
Nah,
Marshmallow.
Todd's a friend of the show, so let's
He
not
loves and
get
he loves the cat as well, so that's important.
let's not go too hard on Todd. I just think
Not his
what's
fault, by
getting
the
into a
way,
bit
not
of
his
a
fault, not his
bit of a
fault.
bad
Him.
habit of just trying to be smarter than everyone around them, and it's making them look really stupid. I think
I will
draft
say it's
is
not
an
his fault.
example of that.
Bloke has been injured more than anyone. It must be tough on the psyche considering all you're thinking about when
Mm.
you're out there is trying not to get injured again. So it's not necessarily his fault, but I just completely agree. Jack Lukosius is just a bit more able-bodied, you'd say. So a
Well,
bit more of a warrior, I think.
Jack's not the most, yeah, I think Jack's made as of much of glass as Todd, though. Like, those 2 just can't stay on the
But
field, unfortunately.
you'd rather Jack Lukosius kicking out to your wingers than Todd Marshall. So
100%.
Kane Farrell was a beautiful kick. Jack Lukosius is a beautiful kick. You'd feel a lot more confident with those two lining up as opposed to Lukosius and Farrell. With Farrell, Marshall and Farrell, with Farrell most likely taking the load of the pinpoint precision kicks.
Agree. Can we talk about the tennis really quick?
Don't start me, mate.
I
You know
just
I've got a new passion for the tennis.
I don't get this sport. Like, what I love in sport is an underdog story, you know? And it just doesn't seem like they exist in tennis. Alex de Minaur is Australia's favourite bloke ever around this time every year. And every year people talk themselves into this guy. And every year he falls short as soon as he plays someone ranked higher than him. And I just think it's never, ever, ever going to happen for this guy. It's just like he's obviously going to make a ton of money. He's incredibly famous in Australia. He's probably living a great life. And I respect what tennis players do. It's such a hard sport. Being out there on your own for hours on end would just be horrific. Like, I could not do it. So I don't criticize the actual players, but I do just think when you watch Alcatraz compared to De Minaur, like,
Alcatraz, this is how you
what's
know
his
he
name?
hasn't researched. He's just listed up one of the most famous prisons of all time. He's gone with Alcatraz, not Alcaraz. He's gone. Dad did the same thing last night, and I clowned him, so I've got to clown you. It's
All
not
right. Well,
Alcatraz, Corn. Alcatraz
this
is a
is I'm a
prison.
very much this I'm just saying I can't watch the sport because there's no interest. It's so obvious who's going to win.
See, I've just got a new respect for it. I don't care who wins. What I saw was it was like 43 degrees the other night, and they were out there for 3 hours, and it's so
I don't.
incredibly taxing.
I'm not saying the sport isn't hard. Like, I'm not saying that at all. I think it's one of the toughest sports on the entire planet. I just can't get around it because I'm just not interested. Like, I just don't. I don't care because
I
it's
just
so obvious who's going to win.
love when it's set point. This bloke's been dominating the whole time. It's a rally of 28 shots. They're hitting it at 150 kilometers an hour, just back and forth at each other. They go, "Arr! Arr!" They're making all the Voldemort noises. And I just love that. Love the moment. It's just so precise. You got to try it yourself because until you try the sport, because I know you've said it's very hard and it's extremely difficult. I just have so much respect for the way they go about it. They're so professional, most of them. I love it, mate. I don't know why. I just love it.
I can't get around it. And you know what else pisses me off? So Demonor just doesn't seem to he's like 1% off being the very top. Like, he's so talented, but he's just not quite at the level of the top guys. Kyrgios has the talent. Like, he could be one of the top, top guys in the sport, and he could take Australia tennis to a completely different level. And he could get people like me who have zero investment in the sport, who can't get around it. Him winning would instantly get all these casual fans brought into the sport. These people who just can't seem to get around tennis. They would rally around Nick Kyrgios and they would watch. And the night before matches, this guy is out at clubs partying. Like, it just
Who
frustrates me
did that?
so
Who
much.
did that? Guinea. Guinea did that. Far
But
out.
it's different. Guinea doesn't have to kick 10 goals for the Hawks to win. Kyrgios is out there on his own. The entire country of Australia is watching him, is cheering him on, and he takes that encouragement, he takes that fandom, and he says, "You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go out and drink 12 beers the night before, get absolutely shit-faced, rock up hungover to my match, and I'm gonna lose. And then when I lose, I'm gonna smash my racket, and I'm gonna have a tantrum." And that is how the world is going to see Australia on one of the biggest stages on the sporting fucking calendar. That pisses me off. Like, that annoys me.
Alright, Corn, put it here. This time next year, I would have taken you to Australian Open game, and we'll have this chat again, alright? It's good fun.
It's you're not gonna change my mind. I get it. I see why people like it. The mental battle these players go through is ridiculous, but there's just some things that frustrate me so much about tennis, and I just can't get around it. Last thing before we get to our top 5 players. You you brought this up and you mentioned that you wanted to chat about it. So Sydney Swans midfielder Taylor Adams has been released from hospital after being knocked unconscious in a Saturday night incident. The 32-year-old Adams was allegedly assaulted following an argument with two men at a venue in Sydney's eastern suburbs. You have not prepped me on where you're going with this. This part of the podcast could absolutely end up being cut out. So when I throw to Finlay, if I pick straight back up, you'll know that whatever Finlay said could not be in the podcast. I'm just going to clear out. I'm going to let you go to work.
See, I had a pretty hefty night last night, so I'm not entirely sure where I was gonna go, but I'll go for a riff. So, we're assuming he was out on the piss, right? This bloke.
Probably, which is
We're
fine.
on the piss,
It's
which
off
is
season.
fine. I mean, you think about the time where it is, it's getting a bit close to not being fine, but it's fine. We'll let him slide. Why does this happen so often? Why are people getting slung in the head and just punched their light? Like, why is that happening? What has possibly gone down in this nightclub to the point where Taylor Adams has come out and said, I didn't do anything, like I was just there. Police are investigating. What has caused this bloke to lose his head that much that he's gone to the level of knocking someone clean? You know how much force it takes to knock out? I got a story behind this. Rainy day, year 9 winter, year 9,
Great year.
double kinda religion. It's kinda
Yeah.
like you sit there, you play Tetris on your laptop, bit of
Do
hill climb
nothing.
racing, hack the coins, get infinite
Yeah.
coins, and then Finlay Butcher, Charlie West, Eddie Corns, Daniel Benetti, Alex Smart. I've just rattled out everyone's full govy as well. That's fine. We start discussing our heights because we're year 9 boys. You know, everyone loves to see who's the tallest,
Mm.
and um and I think we figured out what might have been going on in the club. So discussing heights, and back then Google's feet and inches calculator wasn't actually feet and inches; it was just in feet. So you put your number in centimeters and, you say you're about 5'10", you're about 184 centimeters, and it spits out you're 5'10", 5 foot 10 inches, but it's spitting out 5.8 feet. So hang on. Now it's becoming this massive thing. Eddie Corns thinks I'm 5'8". I know I'm 5'10". There's a squabble, hour and a half of just back and forth, back and forth. It's a decimal point, not an inches sign, you fuckwit. It's and then we get down to the lockers, all has settled down. All has settled down. I undo me locker, get me bag out, and then Corn just unleashes one of the all-time WWE full face slaps. Bang! Tooth comes flying out my mouth, blood everywhere.
So you've you've added a bit to that. First of all, the slap was not hard at all. It was the lightest fucking slap I've ever unleashed, okay? Second, no one even realized you lost a tooth, so there was no blood anywhere, and till this still to this day, there's no evidence that that tooth actually came out. I still think you're making that up. then with the with the calculator, I blame that on Google, not me. They made it so confusing, and I
Oh,
don't
it
wanna
was
hear anyone the
confusing.
amount of the amount of people, that would have made that mistake, and guess what? How tall are you now?
Oh, must be at least 3'11" now.
Okay, so
Nah,
I
6 foot
I
4,
actually
mate.
reckon that
I reckon
I'm
you
taller than you now. So,
Oh, no, 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 that's actually
it didn't
criminal.
actually work
Wait,
out for you though, did it, champion?
I'm not sure where this has gone to now. Let's get to the point that people are here for. What are we talking about?
Right. Top 5 players in the AFL. Um, it's a
Can we go
really
1 for
hard
1 from
top
5
5.
up?
No,
Y
I'm not gonna do that.
Oh,
We're gonna each give
that's
our
alright, mate.
5. Um, it's really hard to do, and I actually implore people before they lose their shit when we read out this list, go do it yourself. Go sit and think in a room for 15 minutes and actually go through and actually try and do this because I think there is 20, maybe that's an exaggeration. I reckon there's 15 players that you could say are
Yeah.
worthy of the top 5, but
Mhm.
obviously there's only 5 in the top 5. So you really have to think about it, and it's a tough exercise to do. That's not the only top 5 we're doing. We're also gonna rank the top 5 players of who we think will be in there at the end of this season. So by the end of the 2026 AFL season, who do we think is going to be in the top 5? Um, and then we also might give a little bit of a smoky at the end who don't necessarily make the list. But if there was someone who was going to surprise us all, who would that name be? All right, Finlay, you can go first. Give us your top 5 players in the AFL right now.
I'm gonna go from 5 to 1.
Yep.
So in round 1, I predict the best 5 players to be Sam Darcy at number 5. Injured this
Okay.
year, but honestly, that bloke you can just see what he's got. You can see what he's gonna give. Jeremy Cameron at number 4. I've gone Zach
Okay.
Butters 3, Nick Dacos 2, and Marcus Bontempelli 1.
Our list is quite similar. Your list, I think Darcy's a little low. Um, and Cameron had moments last year, but I don't think he's a guy that can give you a like long stretch of great games anymore. I think he's a guy that can absolutely have huge impacts, once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks. But I also think last year was the first season where we saw Cameron have some games where you just kind of forgot he was even out there. And if you're going to be a top 5 player, I don't think you can have that sort of impact on as many games as Cameron had last year. Still think he's absolutely in the top 10. He's probably, right around that 10 to 9 range for me. And his final series was ridiculously good as well. Like, he was a huge part of why Geelong got all the way to the grand final. So he still clearly has the ceiling to be a top 5 guy. I just don't think he's good enough week in, week out. All right, my top 5. This is an undebatable list. That's not even a word, but
Yeah, I reckon
I've
it
made
can
a
be.
new one just to describe this list. This is a list that is perfect and no one can tell me it's wrong. So don't even try. Number 5, Riley Thilthorpe. This guy was an absolute monster last year. He was the best player on the best home and away season team in the AFL. That to me automatically puts you in the top 5. Number 4, the most underrated player in the AFL. We've already talked about it on pods not too long ago. Zach Butters. And I think he's going to go up a level. I think he's going to have the Naz effect where he's out of contract, and that's going to actually lead to him playing the best footy of his career instead of being a distraction and causing him to play not quite to the level we know he can be. When he goes to a Victorian club, or if he goes to a Victorian club, or that we're pretty um, open to the fact that he probably
Confident.
is going to a Victorian club. I think everyone will instantly, after about 5 rounds, say, you know what, this guy's a top 5 player in the competition, and because he's on Port Adelaide, no one gives him that respect just yet. Number 3, could be number 1 by the end of the season, Sam Darcy. Um, when healthy, he is the best key forward in the competition. It is the hardest position in the AFL to get a great player, and I think when you're looking at value, Sam Darcy is right up the top. He hasn't been healthy enough for him to be in the top 2 for me. I think health is a huge factor. You know, you have to be available constantly, to be a super player in the AFL. Like, you know, availability is so important. So that's why he's not top 2, but I think Darcy deserves to be number 3, and this may be the year that he just completely takes over, and we'll be talking about him at number 1 towards the end of the season. The Bont is number 2. Really, really, really good year last year. Just maybe the first kind of sign of aging that we've seen. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't really obvious. It wasn't like Cameron for me, where he was still impacting every game in a huge way. But he just can't be in the midfield, 90% of the time anymore. So I think that played into the fact that I have him at 2, still an incredible player and still expect him to have an awesome season. And then Dacos is 1. Like, I just think he's the most valuable guy in the AFL. I think the amount of attention he gets week in, week out kind of distracts from the fact that this guy's just so good. And teams have to literally, I guarantee you, the first thing coaches look at when they're playing Collingwood and their game plan is, how do we stop Nick Dacos? That's the first thing each and every one of them would talk about. And when you're a guy that good, you just have to be number 1 in my eyes. So my top 5: Riley Thilthorpe, Zach Butters, Sam Darcy, the Bont, and Nick Dacos.
Yeah, it's good, and I think it accurately reflects where we're going to with the our prediction for the postseason top 5, what our top 5
Mm,
would look like this time next year. I've kinda gone a little bit kind of out there with a few of this here.
I like it.
Like, um, I'll do my honorable mentions of some serious players to watch after this.
Yeah.
But I've added one new name to the list, and Jeremy Cameron's gonna drop out of my
Mhm.
top 5 here. So we're gonna reshape. So 5th was tough to pick between Bont and Butters.
Okay.
Um, I ended up going with Zach Butters just because of all the noise that he's gonna be coming through his head this year, and we spoke about that extensively last podcast. I've got this is where it gets really tough. Um, I've gone Bontempelli at 4
Mm.
with small signs of aging, nothing massive, nothing that's gonna drop him out the top 5 of course, but just take him a little bit down from that number 1 impactful player in the competition.
Yep.
He's gonna be used a bit differently this year, I think, with the likes
Yep.
of Darcy coming into full fruition as well. Number 3 is this is where I've really gone completely wild. I've thrown Noah Anderson at 3.
Okay.
I really
Don't hate it.
liked Noah Anderson last year. I really liked his first year as captain. I think he's gonna
Yep.
absolutely love that role. Adding Petrarca into that mix as a high half forward midfielder, kind of a 70-30, you'd think it would be that sort of split. With that midfield, Rao's just gonna get better, and we'll hear his name later. It's gonna be a big year for Noah Anderson, the Gold Coast. One spot, it's between 2 people. I think we both have probably both of these 2 people in our top 2 anyway. I've gone Nick Dacos 2. Collingwood getting older. He's gonna have to carry a lot more of the load, I think, in the midfield. He
Yep.
already carries a
That's
lot,
fair enough.
but it's gonna be
Yep.
hard for him. And I've gone Sam Darcy 1. There's nothing in my eyes that can in any way convince me this bloke's not gonna have one of the best years we've ever seen. He played minimal games last year, and his impact was maximum in every single game he played. He did his knee and kicked 4 goals in a game, so you know, I think it's a big year, but that's my end of year list, and I don't think it's gonna be too far off.
Very, very, very good list, and I agree with the majority of it. I do have one big omission though, and I think it'll surprise you. My number 5, Nasiah Wangadeen-Miller. The Saints are gonna be really, really good. Well, really, really good is a bit of a stretch, but I think they'll be really good. I think they'll be, around that 8. to 7 to 6 range. In the top 8 for me, Naz is obviously gonna be a huge player in that. Riley Thilthorpe at 4, so he moves up 1 spot for me. Again, a lot of people doubting the Crows, a lot of people thinking they're gonna drop right off. Will they finish 1? I don't know, but I still think they'll be in the top 4, and Riley Thilthorpe is obviously gonna be a major factor in that. I've got Darcy still at 3, so he stays put. I just I agree. If he's healthy the whole year, he'll be 1. Like, I think, again, if he's healthy, he'll be incredible. I just can't bet on that yet. I just haven't seen enough evidence that this guy can stay healthy for me to put him in the top 2. So he stays at 3. Zach Butters is 2. Like I mentioned before, I just think this contract situation is gonna rocket him to a completely new level, and Dacos is still 1. I think the argument that the load is going to be well and truly on his shoulders this season, that is fair, and I think that's, um, a very good, argument against Dacos staying at 1 by the end of the season. However, I actually think it's gonna go the opposite way, and that rise in expectation of what the Collingwood team needs from him week in, week out is actually going to make him level up and go to a new level. And I think he's going to win the Brownlow. So Dacos is my pick at number 1. Who are your honourable mentions?
I've got mate, there's loads. There is loads. I start with the ones that you've mentioned. So I've got Riley Thilthorpe as my main honourable mention, with
Yeah.
Naz not far behind. Um, and then I've got a few weird ones. Matt Rowe's in there,
Yep.
but also Errol Goulden. He's also in there with a
Yep. I think
big
Heaney
prominent tall.
deserves a mention as well.
Yeah, yeah, I was close to putting Heaney as well. I just
Yep.
think those 2 lads from Sydney with a big tall forward to kick to. Amati's gonna be there, but it's
Dangerous.
it's
They're
it's
going to win the
it's
grand
it's
final. I'm telling you.
yeah, you're big on him.
They're going to win the
Big on
grand final.
Sarong, big on Sarong.
Big on
I like
Sarong.
Caleb Sarong. Um, also, quite big on what's his name? Gone blank, so up to you, mate.
That's right. I'll save you. So there was one guy I really thought hard about putting in the top 5 for the end of this season. Um, and I couldn't quite get there, but I think there's a really intriguing case. Dad came on this podcast and was adamant that Lachie Neale is pretty close to being done as a full-time midfielder. And I think he's not that far off. Like I tend to lean more in agreement with Dad than I am with the other people who still think he's got a lot to go. Obviously, his grand final was incredible. I get it. But with everything that's happened off the field, which we've spoken extensively about on this podcast, um, and just the injuries that continue to pile up for him, I don't think he's going to be the guy in Brisbane's midfield any longer. And to be honest, he wasn't really last year either. And I think Will Ashcroft on that Brisbane team, which is going to be even better this year, could be a guy that we're looking at and saying he is a bona fide top 5 player in the AFL by the end of the season. Um, there's a lot of talent on that list, which complicates things. Like, I think Rowell and Anderson kind of cannibalise from each other, and if it was just one of them on Gold Coast, the team wouldn't be as good, but would be thinking about them in the top 5. Sarong's another example of that on Freo. Even like Thilthorpe and Dawson, like it's a bit of a debate between who's the best player on the Crows, which I don't think helps his top 5 case. But if Ashcroft elevates another level after winning another Norm Smith, I think we could absolutely be talking about him as a top 5 player in the AFL by the end of the 2026 season. He'd kind of be my wild card for that top 5.
My final honourable mention was Hugh McCluggage, by the way.
Of course. Yeah. So
Brute.
he's
Absolute
another
brute.
example of cannibalizing each other. Like if it was just one of either McCluggage or Ashcroft, um, maybe they're a little bit high on people's lists, but it's good for Brisbane because they've got so much talent. Finlay, this has been fun. We went a little bit longer than expected. I hope people enjoyed. We went on quite a few tangents and rambles, and we got a bit fired up. You recovered from your rattling of the YouTube commenter, so be
I'm
nice to
still a
Finlay in
little
the
bit
comments,
rattled.
please.
I'm still a little bit rattled. Look, if you see me AKA on the street, we'll have a
Mm.
conversation, mate. We'll have a chat. Because some
Look,
people are
Finlay,
doing a bit more for this space than others, so just remember that.
Finlay, you'll never see a hater doing better than you. And considering this is the number one fastest growing podcast on the planet, just look it up. Look at the stats. It's all there for you right in front of you. This is the fastest growing podcast. We're going to get some haters. There are going to be some people who are jealous that you get to sit here on a podcast and make funny faces while I do the intro, and they're going to
Look at the
hate. So just
preparation.
embrace it.
Look at
Who
the
is that?
prep. That's
Oh,
Jalen Williams, mate.
right.
He's whacked
Right.
his list on the back of the Jalen Williams card there. So that's the level
That's
of
a
professionalism we're working with here.
That's a good plug. The NBA trade deadline is coming up on the 15th, and we'll be covering it all right here on the Eddie Corns podcast, as well as every single Friday night game during the AFL season. Me and Finlay will be doing a show called No Review Required, which you'll find right here on the Eddie Corns podcast platform feed. We'll potentially be going live after a few rounds, which you'll be able to find on YouTube and on Twitter/X as well. So exciting things coming for the Eddie Corns podcast. Finlay, appreciate everything you've done for the show. Appreciate this episode. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, blessing. That's all it is. Blessing. Can't wait for no review required. Just can't wait. It's gonna be a big couple weeks.
I need to get out of this seat because the air conditioner in this house doesn't work. We've been going through a heat wave in Melbourne. It was 45 degrees yesterday. It's about 30
It's hot here
today.
too.
And this light, oh, is it going to let me spin it around? Oh, you're going to see some shit. This
Oh,
light is so hot. So I'm
you
sitting
think
here
that light's hot, Corn? You think that light's hot? Take a look at that beast.
I'm I'm sitting here sweating in a no air conditioning room. This is what we do. Love of the game, Eddie Corns podcast. Hope you enjoyed. If you do, leave a 5-star review, subscribe. See you later in the week. Peace.